Well, we are going to talk a little bit about security and problems with open source and Linux, because we have all heard the party spiel that is that, oh, Linux is great, open source is great, because you can see the source code and therefore bugs and security fixes is going to be found faster and quicker than proprietary software and all of these things, because more eyeballs on the lines of code means better outcome. In theory, that should be right. In theory. But I just found an article that was from the June 29th, 2022. Another 12-year-old bug just recently got acknowledged in the kernel, it looks like. Called PWN kit or pawn kit. It's a memory exploit and blah 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 blah. Could it have been fixed right now? From when you see this video, probably, I don't know. But the fact is, it's been in Linux for 12 fucking years and it's being discovered right now. So where's all the eyes here? And you may think, well, luckily enough the community stepped in. No, this was not discovered by the community. Or apparently developers. This was discovered by a third-party security agency called the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. Really, really great name, by the way. So yeah, all of the amazing community out there that are looking at the code didn't find this bug. Is it really better than proprietary software? I'm just asking. I don't know. This is not me saying that it's worse or better or... You know, it's just like every time we see a massive security problem within Linux open source software, it's rarely Bob in his basement eating Doritos and jerking off to hentai porn that are submitting the bug and security problem. It's almost always security agencies, just like with proprietary software. You know, these kind of security agencies, they are also finding bugs and security problems in proprietary software. This is just, they don't have like specific, I don't know this specific organization, but most of them, they don't really care that much about if it's open source or closed source. They just care about finding the problems. So the party line that we hear from this amazing community is kind of falling apart a little bit. Because if it was true that because it's free and open source and we can look at the code and there's a lot of eyeballs on the code, it's being fixed better and faster than proprietary software. Why do we keep getting the same problems that proprietary code have? Bugs, security risks in software that's lingering in there for fucking over a decade. This should not happen. If we believe the party line from the FOSS Foundation, the Free Software Foundation, the open source people, the Linux community and all that, this should not happen because people are looking at the code. Or are they? That's the question. Just because you can, don't mean that you will. I live near the beach. That basically means that everyone can go to the beach. So does that mean that everyone is skinny dipping at night? No. I don't. I hate the beach. I love the water, I hate the people, okay? I don't want to go to the beach and look at all these fucking crazy people trying to get their skin cancer. I don't want to do that. So I don't go to the beach. I don't go skinny dipping. I don't go bathing or anything like that. But I have the opportunity to if I want to. So by that logic, the Free Software Foundation and the Linux community's logic, I have the opportunities, therefore I do it. Here's another problem we have. It's not about reading the code, it's also about understanding the code. How many people are looking at the code and actually understanding it? Probably not that many. You know, it's the quality of the eyes. And to some extent, I think, or I have a theory why that is within the open source community, and that is because I think people have this mentality saying that, I don't have to do it because the next guy or girl is going to do it. And they have the notion, well, I don't have the time, but the next person will. And the next person have the same mentality, and then it end up being the developers, for the most part, that are looking at the code just like with proprietary software. Who is the main people working with the code and looking at the code are the main developers for a project. Proprietary or open source, it don't matter. That's what it looks like. Proprietary software have the same fucking problems. They also have security issues that are being dug up after fucking half a decade and stuff like that. This is what we are saying to people is should not happening under open source software, because we're telling them you can look at the code. And people are looking at the code. So we are fixing it better than under proprietary software. And I know, some of the fanboys will now dig up statistics and say, well, compared to Windows and other proprietary software, we have less vulnerabilities. Yes, we have less people looking at our software for vulnerabilities. We also have less people using it. There's a correlation there. The more people that are looking, the more people that are using a piece of anything, the more problems you will find, the more security issues you will find, because there are more eyes on the ball, so to speak. There are more users. There are a higher incentive to look for these things than under Linux. So if you want to compare Linux with Windows, for example, we need to compare Linux with having the same amount of users as Windows, and we don't, so we can't do it. What we can do is that we can look at Windows and Linux and say, Windows have more security issues. It's also used by more people, therefore more people are attacking it, testing it, and blah blah. It's actually going through a better testing phase than Linux is, because it's being attacked more than Linux is. But we are still finding under Linux massive fucking problems that should not be there. I don't care if we have less bugs and security flaws than Windows. The fact is that they are there for that long is a problem. Why is the community not finding it? The vast majority of security problems within Linux are not being found by the community, which goes against what the community is telling other people. That because it's open source, the community will help out. The community is the driving factor. The community is helping software developers finding bugs and security problems. Why is it that most bugs and most security issues are being found by professional security agencies? It goes against the party line, okay? It goes against the religious book that is Linux, the Linux dogma. I find this highly interesting. I really find this interesting. Because in theory, the theory is sound that if more people are looking at a problem, the faster and the better the solution would be. In theory. Practical. That's not what we have seen the last 10, 15 years. But it's funny to think about this, and what you should take away from this video is that no matter what kind of philosophy that's driving a software product, you know, how it's being developed, proprietary, open source, common, Creative Commons, call it what the fuck you will, you know, all these different licenses out there. In the end, it all comes down to the developers. That's the sad reality of it. If you're bad developers, it don't matter if it's open source or closed source, they will do bad job. If it's good developers, don't matter what licenses, they will do a good job. That's what time and time has showed us versus open source versus proprietary on our security level. It ends up being the main developers, quality of control, security mindedness, that determines how well the software is, not the software license. The developers. Because the reality is that just because you can do something, don't mean that everyone is doing it. I can go for a 10-mile walk every day. I don't do it, you don't do it. You can go for a run every day. You probably don't do that. You can go to the gym every day or go work out every day. You probably don't do that either. But you have the option. That's the thing with options. Most people don't do it if it's an option. There are so many reasons why in life in general that theory don't always function that way in reality. And I honestly are starting to believe that the theory behind open source may be overpromising. It may be a really good theory, but in reality, we are no more less or better in a less or better situation than our proprietary brothers and sisters. The only thing that a really big selling point for open source is that for the most part, the developers seem to be way more open for suggestions and talkative to the community. They are a little bit more opening for feedback and allowing outside code into their system, which also could be the reasons why we have security problems, by the way. You know, they seem to be more open for outside help than proprietary software. That's the biggest benefit from it. But again, what is the quality of the help? How often does it happen? And does it really make an impact? So don't take this as a criticism. Take this as we need to do better. But yeah, read the articles. I have basically, it's the same article written from two different perspectives. One is Bleeding Computers, and the other one is from TechRadar. So they're saying the same thing. Some give a little bit more information, and you know, it's different viewpoints on the same problem, basically. All in all, just don't think that you have this magic shield when you're running Windows. Oh, sorry, Linux. Treat Linux as Windows when it comes to security. Treat every operating system equally when it comes to security. Because then you are kinda putting yourself up for success. You get what I'm saying here? So see you all later. Bye bye.